Hi, guys. I think I'm live. How are you? Welcome to Therapeutic Wisdom from the Akash and Awoken TV. It's so good to see you. Please say hi if you're hopping on. I'm going to take a moment to share this out. If you are new to Awoken TV, welcome, welcome, welcome. And if you have been here before, welcome back. How many of you were able to see The Longest Night Before the Light? I know that I was able to catch some of it, but not the whole thing. So I wanted to see how many of you were able to jump on and see some of those videos that were so graciously offered for this summit. So let me know how that went and definitely take a moment to share this out. I'm going to be talking about the mental health system today. So if there's anybody that you know that you feel could benefit from this discussion or participate in it, I would really love if you could share it out. Hi, Christy. Thanks so much for letting me know the comments are working. I always have my phone open just in case. All right, I'm just going to share this out to a couple places. So if you guys haven't been to Awoken TV before, you can find Awoken TV at www.awoken.tv and on the App Store. And it's basically like a spiritual and metaphysical Netflix. So there's other shows like this, there's conscious filmmakers, there's courses, all sorts of tools and assistance for your spiritual and metaphysical journey. My name is Laura Mazzotta, and I'm an Akashic healer and teacher. And I guide mission driven souls to sharpen and enliven their intuitive gifts so that they can ignite six-figure passionate businesses, spiritual businesses particularly. So please say hello if you guys are here. If you are tuning in on the Akashic Academy or you're tuning in on Emerge Healing and Wellness, I'm not going to see your comments live. So that's totally fine with me if you guys don't want to engage while I'm live. But just know that I won't be able to catch your comments on the Akashic Academy or Emerge Healing and Wellness until after the show. Okay? So, how many of you, I would love to hear your perspectives on the mental health system. Now, I'm particularly talking about the mental health system in the United States because that's where I live. I'm in New York. So I've been a therapist for almost 20 years in New York. So I've had a lot of experience with the mental health system at all sorts of levels of care. Hi, Tracy. Thanks so much for being here and saying hello. I appreciate it. Let me know where you're tuning in from, too, especially if we haven't connected before. I always love connecting with the audience. So, all right, last share out, and then I'm going to put this down and we're going to be besties, okay? All right. I've had a lot of experience in the mental health system both as a clinician and as a patient because I went to therapy on and off for from the time that I was 7 until, my mid 30s. So, I definitely had my own experiences with that system. I never got to levels of care like, intensive outpatient or partial hospitalization. And let me know if you guys don't know those terms, and I'm happy to explain them to you because basically the mental health system in the US is a tiered system. So um, the goal is for people to operate in this system at the lowest level of care possible, okay? To be able to prevent them from escalating to higher levels of care. So the idea is you go in and get assessed at a therapist or a clinic or something, right? And then they decide which level of care you're meant for. So if you're good and you're functioning and you're able to just go to therapy on an outpatient basis, that's the lowest level of care. And then if your outpatient therapist thinks, your symptoms are getting a little worse and I need to kind of bump you up a little bit, they're going to send you to an IOP, which is an intensive outpatient program. And typically those are about 3 days a week. And when you go, you can go either during the day for a few hours or in the evenings for a few hours. This is the most common form for substance abuse and addiction. And then after you go to the IOP, if things are still not resolving, they would recommend you go to a partial hospitalization program, which we call a PHP. And basically what that means is you're going Monday through Friday for like a work day, 9 to 5, to get group care, individual care, medication management, things like that, right? And then after that is inpatient. So that's obviously if you're at risk to yourself or others. So I know that can be a sensitive topic for a lot of people, and they don't necessarily want to like pipe up on social media and share. But if you guys have any questions about the system or frustrations that you've run into, please let me know. I've certainly found that the system has helped a lot of people, right? It's helped a lot of people. And certainly with people with chronic schizophrenia or chronic mental illness, it can be very supportive to get your foot in the door so that you have access to things like housing and additional staff support if you are not able to live at home. And typically that's for people with really, really severe chronic mental illness. Okay. Um, but what I do find is that the mental health system also only goes so deeply in terms of examining and getting curious about what the symptoms are reflecting. Okay. And although I know that therapy is very helpful for a lot of people, I also find that people get stuck in the system, right? They get stuck in the system, and I do believe that the system is partially intentional to keep people in this revolving door kind of scenario. Now, sometimes it just works out that way because they don't have family support or their families are so dysfunctional. And so when they come back out of the hospital, they're then exposed to this situation or this scenario that might not have been serving them before, and then their symptoms are aggravated again and they have to return. So of course that can happen for sure. But the mental health system does not, from a traditional standpoint, really view or examine mental health from a holistic perspective. And when I say holistic, that doesn't mean alternative medicine. It means, I mean, it can include that, but what it means is looking at the whole person. And the whole person includes physical symptoms. It includes mental health symptoms, which means emotional or cognitive symptoms. It includes energetic symptoms. It includes spirituality. Okay. So all of these components are a piece of what makes a person operate in the way that they do. And the question about how is this situation or symptom that's arising playing a productive part in this person's life? Like, what are the lessons that are coming forward because this is presented? I don't see that question being asked in the mental health community, at least not in the traditional mental health community. I see it as diagnosis, which unfortunately, where that was originally developed as a framework and a structure to get a real understanding for what's going on with this person and how can we then identify the best route to help them, right? They obviously refer to data and evidence-based practices to be able to offer people the support that they need based on their diagnosis. And I get that, but unfortunately, it becomes very narrow, and people end up getting boxed in and kind of labeled by the diagnostics. So it's funny because I just made the decision to leave traditional therapy and to entirely devote my time and energy to my Akashic work because I have found that after 20 years of being a therapist and being in and out of therapy myself, the level of healing and the level of effectiveness and efficiency that has come from this work, this energetic work, is leagues beyond what I ever received or was able to offer in the mental health system. So that doesn't mean, again, that it's not productive. It's just one layer. It's a starting point, it's an access point. And anybody who has the opportunity to get that support and access, I celebrate because a lot of people need that. But I don't want what happens is people get into the mental health system and then they become dependent on their therapist to help them get from week 1 to week 2. And that's okay temporarily, but not on a long-term basis. And unfortunately, that's what it's become is a lot of therapists are serving as, temporary parents for these people who really do need a lot of inner child healing, a lot of their own ability to give themselves healing. And no matter how much love and dedication that therapist hands over to them. Hey, Lori, thank you so much for saying hi. Good to see you. No matter how much love they pour out, if the person isn't able to cultivate that within themselves, it's not going to have staying power. It's just going to be a band aid effect. And that's the problem. Very similar to the medical community, where again, the medical community saved my life, and I still get plasma infusions every week for my immunodeficiency. So I'm not entirely energetic and completely taboo on medical or mental health. I just think that that both need to be a part of it. I really do. They have to be, because truly we are going to continue finding that people are getting the band-aid effect and then stuff's coming back again. It keeps it's like a boomerang effect. And then people get frustrated and they get hard on themselves and they get critical, which doesn't help their mental health system symptoms because they feel like they can't do it. They feel like they're doing something wrong or they're somehow flawed. Whereas in this space of spirituality, in the Akashic records or in high level meditation or transcendental meditation, you have the opportunity to identify what your soul's purpose is. And when you start to understand the context for why this diagnosis or group of symptoms has developed in your life, then you start to appreciate it. You start to fold it into the wholehearted version of you, your wholeness, and not just label yourself and say, well, that's the bad part of me, or that's something I have to fix. Right. And unfortunately, a lot of people come into the mental health system and the medical world, to be honest, when they've already hit a wall. Like they're already like at their wits' end. They're like, I can't take this. I've tried this, and I'm losing my marbles and I can't do it. And they're so desperate at that point that they're in less of a place to be patient with developing skills and practices to help them move forward. They're just like, I need, you need to help me right now. Like, I need help right now. And I'm guilty of that too. I've totally been there in my life, particularly with my medical complications that I've had over the past 4 years, where I even told my immunologist the other day, I was like, oh, yeah, it's so beautiful how much my mindset has shifted since I got sepsis 4 years ago. Because at the time, any doctor that I would see, I'd be like, "Whatever you say, because I'm just so desperate. Like, I just need to feel better. I need to function. I need to be able to be myself again." And entering any kind of work with that level of desperate energy is going to give you desperate results. And what I mean by that is results of a forceful nature, results of a I have to, I have to, gripping onto kind of nature. And when you do that, it creates a codependency that's not healthy for anybody. It's not healthy for the clinician or the doctor. It's not healthy for the patient or their family members or loved ones because it's a ripple effect. So that's why it's so critical and that's why now I am teaching all of the energetics, getting really in tune with your own energetics, not just your soul's purpose, like I was talking about, but all of the different layers at which the energy is showing up as symptoms or other cues in your life so that you can be preventive. Okay. And part of this is just the human condition. Like, we don't listen a lot of the time until we're clobbered over the head. I never would have listened if I hadn't gotten clobbered over the head. So sometimes we need that wake up call. So forgive yourself for that if that's where you are. But it's also incredibly self loving to be able to start engaging in and integrating practices that are just nice, they're enjoyable, they are opening up space for you. You are choosing yourself in that moment. You're choosing your future you, which is somebody that I hope is even more improved with who you are now. And if you're watching this video, I know that you have that goal, right? So it's being able to love yourself enough to be preventive and implementing these tools and techniques like tapping, like meditation, like exercise, like eating well, like breath work, drinking water. Okay. I could go on for probably the entire evening, but starting to grab some of these tools and implementing one per week. Start out slowly. Say, all right, I'm going to journal this week. This week, I'm going to make it a practice to journal. That could be dream journals. It could be, well, I wake up in the morning and I write down what I dreamt. That's it. You don't have to analyze it. You don't have to interpret it. You don't have to think about it. Just jot it down. Because what you're doing is you're starting to create a consistency and a practice, and you're giving yourself the message you're worthy. I love you. And I care enough about you that I'm going to prevent anything from being able to even enter your field. Because when we vibrate at a high frequency, this stuff, dis-ease, can't even operate. Mental illness, physical illness, none of it can operate, right? So that's the thing. I remember when I first became a therapist in private practice, and I had been working at the hospital for a couple of years in the inpatient psychiatric facility. One was just a general psych, and the other one was eating disorder inpatient treatment. And oh, I completely lost my train of thought. I'm going to take a drink of water and it'll come back. Completely lost it. It'll come back to me. If it's important, it'll come back to me. But Um, so let me know if you have questions about those different levels of care in the mental health system and realizing that we are our own best healers. We are our own best resource for understanding what's going on with us. I remember so many times when my doctors would say to me, you need to go get this test. And I'm like, no, I don't. I can't do that. My body can't tolerate that. Yes, it can. Yes, it can. You need to get this test done. Go get the test, pass out in the ambulance. You know, just unbelievable how well we know our bodies. And that's with mental health and medical health, right? So raise your hand if you've experienced this. Raise your hand in the comments and let me know if you've experienced this ability to say, I am my own best advocate. I am my own best source of healing and resource for the tools that are best suited to me and my path and assisting me with moving forward toward fulfilling my soul's purpose. It doesn't mean when you go through these things that they're not fulfilling your soul's purpose. They absolutely are. Don't reject them. And I think that's what happens a lot of the time is that, people get um, locked up is one of the lovely terms that's unfortunately thrown around in the mental health community, right? Placed in a psychiatric facility for long periods of time. And there's never an understanding of the spiritual piece to this, right? That this is a soul walking around in a human body. Okay, well, this soul chose to be here, chose to have that diagnosis per se, right? And chose to have these challenges because of the lessons that were going to come forward from it to help this person become a better person, not a better person, to become a more ascended soul, let's say. Okay. Not just myself, but my child. Thank you for sharing that, Angie. I appreciate that. Yeah, we have to open our mouths. And you know what that takes, guys? It takes confidence and it takes courage to be able to open your mouth. I remember, what I was taught when I was a kid was that doctors were like holier than thou, mental health professionals holier than thou. Never be late for an appointment, never talk back, listen to the doctor, right? These are the professionals who know better than you do. Bullshit. That doesn't mean they don't have information that isn't helpful to me that I can place on the table along with all the other information that my parents have given me, that my colleagues have given me, that my own intelligence has given me, that my soul has given me, that my intuition has given me, putting them all together and then I can make my decision. So it's not like they're not valid. It's just that we need to be very cautious of that hierarchy and making ourselves shrink and feel small and inadequate and not having a voice. Okay. Lori says, I felt this way for years when it came to listening to what's wrong in my body and the doctor didn't understand. Now I know the past pains in my body were just unhealed traumas, trapped negative energy, 100%. And I'm so proud of you for opening your mind and being able to see that reality, to take this path and to learn more about what makes you tick. Because we're all snowflakes, right? We're all different. We all have different geometric patterns, but it's different geometric patterns of the same shape. So somebody who has bipolar disorder and somebody who has chronic schizophrenia and somebody who has none of it all have the same building blocks, the same components. They're just arranged in different patterns. So what makes this pattern different from this pattern, right? The fractals of energy that make up those patterns that have come from the source of their soul. This is where astral travel comes in. Freaking brilliant. To be able to travel back to the source of our soul and understand the society, and the original source of belonging for our spiritual essence. I can't tell you everybody that I know that I have taken back to astral travel that has gotten a lot of information about, what the society is like, or what this original type of being was that you were born into or sparked into as a soul, feels immensely peaceful and like they found their tribe. They're like, oh wow, okay, this is where I fit in. Those people that feel like, oh, I'm kind of left out. I feel like a misfit. Good. That means that you're here to carve a new path, to teach us new things so that we can open our minds and really tap into the infinite amount of information that's available to us on this earth and in dimensions outside of this planet. Because there's infinite amount of information, infinite amount of you know what I'm trying to say, infinite amounts of information that are available to us. And that's why, like, I just did a post yesterday on curiosity, right? And how it's so key to our awareness that we just need to get curious, to thinking about somebody who comes in with symptoms of chronic schizophrenia and saying, interesting. This is so different as to what some of the psychiatrists will say, right? Like, this is so different. This doesn't fit the standard operating procedure. Or this doesn't fit the standard list. And so they have this group called not otherwise specified that they kind of put everybody in that they don't really know how to diagnose. Instead of saying, wow, this is fascinating. Look at this unique compilation of symptoms in this person and unique background and all this other stuff. What does this say about the long term of this person's life, right? Like, ultimately, where are they going? What are they meant to accomplish by the end of this lifetime? These questions are not asked in the mental health world for the most part. Yes, there is a rise of more and more holistic practitioners in this space, and I'm so thankful for that, and I honor you if you are one of those people. Thank you for spearheading this shift in consciousness. Right now, and this is why Awoken TV just did the longest night before the light, we are closing an 800-year cycle with Saturn and Jupiter coming into the type of alignment they're coming into tomorrow on the winter solstice. And the winter solstice is powerful anyway, energetically. But we also have this Saturn and Jupiter. And what's happening there is that we are shifting from a different definition of masculine energy than we were used to for the past 800 years. And we're entering a new, you can call it a 20-year cycle within a 200-year cycle. There's a lot of complicated things out there in astrology that I will not pretend to know all the details about, but I have read some about it. And I do know that we're entering a new 200-year cycle that gives us the opportunity to shift from this structured inside of the box paradigm that our society is operating on, whether we're talking about the mental health system or anything, right? And shifting into a new way, and that we all have a voice in that. So the biggest message here today is to be able to really trust and know your unique energetic blueprint, which, yes, you can access through meditation, through the Akashic records, through other spiritual avenues as well. But I really highly encourage you to get a greater understanding of that before you just accept whatever diagnosis or treatment plan comes your way, because there's so many layers to this, and there's so many layers to you. And how fun and exciting is it to get a greater and intimate understanding of yourself, to every single cell, every single layer, the space between your cells. That is what deep levels of self intimacy and self love are about. And that's how we get better, because we're not referring to other people or the system or outdated beliefs to decide what's best for us, to decide next steps for us. Hi, Elena. Thanks for being here. Hi, and a soul hug to you and to all who are present. Thank you so much. I so appreciate you being here. And I hope I pronounced your name right. It could be Elena as well. I know an Elena. So, anyway, thanks again for being here. But yeah, so this is a really significant shift that we're undergoing right now. So what that means is not, oh, strap on your seatbelt, we're going for an energetic ride. What it means is take care of yourself, use your voice in any of those areas where you have felt like, I want to speak up. I want to use my voice, use my gifts, step into a more authentic version of myself instead of hiding. Think about it. How many things are on your list that you wouldn't talk about publicly? How many things are on your list that you are afraid or embarrassed to discuss? A lot of times that's the reason why people go to therapy. And a lot of times people go to therapy because they have no other support system. Spiritual support systems are always available to you 24/7. Yourself, you are available to you 24/7. When we really, really learn how to parent ourselves and how to take care of ourselves in the way that we are meant to, we heal. And when we allow ourselves to rely on angels, guides, loved ones, ascended masters, our spiritual team, they're eager to help us. They are ready and willing. All we have to do is ask. Okay. So let me know if you guys have any questions or if this is bringing anything up for you, but I really appreciate your engagement tonight. Like I said, a synopsis here is that I do appreciate the mental health system, of course, and I do believe that it serves a purpose. But I also think that it can foster codependency on the system, which is disempowering. And that's one of the main reasons that I started to shift my work as well, is because I felt immense levels of power in doing this kind of work, much more than I had even by proxy through my patients, let's say, right? But also myself being in therapy off and on, that I felt so much more empowered. I was like, wow, it is unbelievable how when I spend time in stillness with myself on a consistent basis and then I miss a day, I don't feel well. I'm off. And we're taught that when we're off, we need to analyze that to the ends of the earth. What's wrong? Nothing. You're just having an off day. Be nice to yourself. Be gentle. When it becomes a pattern, 3 times makes a pattern, 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 years. At that point, you say to yourself, okay, let me look into this a little bit further, right? But just know that if you're seeking out assistance from the mental health system, don't make it gospel, okay? Use it as an additional piece of information that's coming your way that you can place on the table with everything else and spend a lot of time in meditation or in spiritual work of some kind. And that could be chanting, it could be Tai Chi, could be the Akashic records, could be Reiki. Because the more time you spend with yourself in stillness, that's the relationship we want to cultivate. Because when we step into the mental health system, it's save me. There's a lot of save me energy in that system. And unfortunately, the system can benefit from that save me energy, that desperate, I need, right? You have a good friend whose boy was diagnosed with schizophrenia. Hmm. Sending some love and peace to them and to him. And I do believe, and this is something that I want to explore a little bit further in the Akashic records, but the message that has come through the Akashic records, and that I know I've read some about too with schizophrenia in particular, is that these are the people who are really experiencing different dimensions simultaneously. And it's very confusing. And it makes them feel like they're losing their mind. But really, they're having a lot of trouble integrating information from other dimensions with the earth plane, and they're able to connect with beings outside of the earth plane. And so they're being spoken to in different languages and different frequencies in a way that they don't know how to bring forward into this reality. And so there's a lot of delusions and fantasies and hallucinations and all of that, where really it's connection with dimensions or living primarily in another dimension, but being in a human body. He tried for 2 years in a row. Yeah. Yeah. And so it's funny because I've had so many people come into my practice with hallucinations, delusions, paranoia, things like that. And when we turn toward them, We turn toward these symptoms and we get curious about them and we ask what message they're trying to bring us and the lessons. And it's amazing how much information comes forward because people get scared. Oh, yeah, that's very, very scary. And thank you for sharing that. Because he feels caught, he feels trapped, and that's why he tries to end his life, right? Is because he doesn't know how to integrate this. He doesn't know how to find peace with that. And, what people will say in that situation is like, "Oh, that's a tortured soul." Right? And what does that mean? Does that mean that the soul is restless? What purpose does this serve on his journey? I wonder if anybody's ever opened his Akashic records or tried to get an understanding of his soul's purpose if his family's open to that. But but yeah, it is. It's very hard and I'm not denying that this is a challenge to navigate. And that's why I think that having both systems in place is helpful, right? It's just not getting caught in the box because getting caught in the box limits our vision. And like I said, we have infinite information available to us in the world, in the universe, and in other dimensions that we can access at any time. We just have to ask for it, right? And we have to be willing to receive the answers. So, I encourage all of you to really use this energy that we're riding on right now into tomorrow and a couple days beyond as a cushion, okay? Because the energy right now is supporting a huge societal shift. It's supporting a huge shift from what we would call really a wounded masculine energy to a softer form of masculine energy and to a greater integration and balance and harmony between the divine feminine and the divine masculine, which means going within and identifying what are those places that my soul has been, other planets, other societies, other eras, that it has learned lessons that I can bring forward into this lifetime or this society to be able to bring us to a more vital, healthy, connected, collaborative space. Yeah, he's lost hope. Um, if you had his permission, I don't know how paranoid he is, but if you had his permission, you could always enter his Akashic records and do some work in there on his behalf, like by proxy. The other thing you could do is open your own Akashic records and try to connect to his higher self in your Akashic records. But you'd have to have his energetic permission, which really feels like, like if you're walking towards somebody and by the time they get to this point, you're like, okay, that's close enough. Like, I'm good. That's energy, right? That's energy that we're feeling. It's like, oh, your bubble crossed into my bubble and I don't want you to get closer. So if you're up there in your Akashic records and you feel, um, or you request to connect with his higher self and you kind of feel like like he's kind of repelling me or he's trying to push me away, then you know that you're not going to be welcome. But for the most part, higher selves are pretty amenable to the connection, so you can feel into that as long as your intentions are pure, you know and that you're not just going in there out of curiosity, but like you said, with an intention to really assist him, right, and guide him. And so your higher self can connect with his higher self and basically have a conversation and try to get an understanding for um the purpose and how your energy in his energy can be supportive on this path, because it's going to support you too. It's going to be an education for you too, and there's a reason why this is coming up in your life for sure, right? It's bringing something forward for you. So, no is not the case. Tell me what you mean by that. So, anyway, and I'm happy to PM with you too if that helps you and supports you, okay? So that's one way you can do it, but we can always send energy, of course, but that doesn't always feel like enough, but we also want to honor other people's paths and their decision making, right? So, like I said, souls know what they're coming into this planet to sign up for. They know, and they know who they're gonna hang out with, and they know who's gonna piss them off, and they know who's going to abuse them, and they chose it for that reason, because they needed to get to a certain point in their ascension, okay? And this is the piece that's left out that I feel like is an enormous chunk of our self-understanding, enormous chunk. So let me know if you guys have further questions. I actually have a free 5-day intensive that's coming up if you guys want to join me. And it's all about transforming and invigorating your story. You know, whatever story you have so far, and being able to connect to our lineage, our belief systems, etc. And shifting it towards something that makes us feel invigorated, rewriting, re I want to make up a new word here, recontexting, right? Taking that context of how we've seen our history or understood our history as it's unfolded, and being able to say, I get to place this in a new context now. I don't have to define it in the same way. I don't have to view it in the same way. I don't have to feel the same way about it. Reprogramming that, okay? So that we are more aligned and we have a roadmap for um, really a template for any other stories in specific areas of our lives that we need to shift and change. Okay, so there's a link for that in the description of this video, but I'll also place it in the comments so that you guys can grab it. Again, if this is a completely free 5-day intensive, it's basically a 5-day course for you guys. And when you register, you're going to get the details coming forward, and I'm going to be sending out the workbook probably over the weekend, but that's only going to be coming through email. So definitely make sure you register so you get access to my fancy schmancy workbook. And we'll have the opportunity to work together and access the space of the Akashic records and connect more in your stillness. And if you can't commit to anything else before the end of 2020, I do encourage you to commit to this, because this is an opportunity. And if you showed up here today to participate in this conversation and listen to this live, there's definitely a piece of your soul that's being called forward by the Akashic Records to either its next level or to get a greater understanding of your purpose here. Okay. So let me know if you guys have any other questions. I'm happy to engage with any of you individually over Messenger. My Facebook, my free Facebook group is Room for Healing, or you can find me at Emerge Healing and Wellness, which is my Facebook page, my business page. But I'm not as active there as I am in Room for Healing and on my personal page. So, anyway, I love you all for being here. Thank you so much for the interaction. I'm sending endless and infinite love to you all. And I will see you next Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. For any of you who celebrate Christmas, Merry, Merry Christmas. And I hope you enjoy this beautiful holiday season with yourself, your loved ones, your pets, your spirit guides, and you can enjoy and appreciate all the magic that this beautiful energy of conjunct Saturn and Jupiter is bringing our way. All right. I love you. Have a great week. Bye.